Alright, let's do an unboxing of the Fortress Power eForce 9.6 kilowatt hour battery. There's going to be two of these. And so, let's get started with that. Open. You know how it is, unboxing. You gotta cut the tip. Oops, missed that tip. Pretty good, actually. Funny. All right, now, what do we have in here besides a 200-pound battery? Look at that. I like this. The maker's mark. I'll study that for a second so I can understand. Okay, let's look at the specs. Right here. It's a eForce 9.6. And 48 volt nominal. That means if they put 48 volts, it's 15 cells in series. 200 amp hours, 195 amps of maximum charge and discharge current. And of course, other specs there you see. And let's see. Whatever's in here. Oh, great. Some bolts to mount the battery to the wall. You'll see that it's probably one of the best designs I've seen so far. Two plates that mount the batteries together. Anti-seismic plates. That's what I'll call those. And I think the other box has the other accessories. All right, that's a pretty no-frills unboxing. I want these bolts, of course. You'll see how this goes together in a second. It's gonna be real nice. All right, stand by. We gotta get... All right, the other thing I wanted to unbox right away is the eWay, because the eForce needs an eWay. This is a wireway, a gutter, a raceway. It is a way to collect up all of the batteries into the circuit with a bus bar and an enclosure and a way to distribute the power from the batteries. This is this converts. I'm going to say this several times, but with this setup, and here is the mounting template. You see, an actual full-size template, real nice. So, with instructions or holes for the different inverters that you might have fitted here, if you're wall mounting or floor mounting. This makes this so easy for DIY. And, you know, if you're a professional installer of stuff, why wouldn't you also want the easy button? I mean, this makes total sense. I don't want to mess around with a tape measure and calculate some stuff. Do the procedure, slap this on the wall, mark it with the Sharpie. That's where it goes. You don't have to, like, you know, guess. This right here makes a solar power system more like an appliance. And that's the goal here. You'll see as I go along, I will keep saying this is an appliance. It's going to be a lot easier to install. So let's get into it. First of all, I don't want to lose this. This should be painted gold, but I'll put it here. We don't have wind today like we did yesterday. Okay, data cables, put those there. Oops. Yeah, you can start to see what I'm looking for here. Look at this. It's got a display that shows the battery status of the batteries, and it has the traditional switch on and off. And I'm going to use some of these knockouts on the side. You can't see. We'll get this out of here and let's see what happens, how we're going to lay this out. All right, stand by. We got some good stuff happening. All right, here is the first view of the eWay. You can see that there's the top part and the bottom part. I'll separate them in a second and we'll show you a section of this. But there's a door on the front with a key. which is in the bag there. There's knockouts on the top here. This, I think this entire plate gets removed for the inverter, so you don't have to actually use the individual knockouts, but you can. On this side, we have additional knockouts for the side exits. Here's the seismic plate that was in the battery. So basically, you stack the batteries and you install the seismic plate there. That just keeps things from going up and down or left or right if you have a seismic event. Here's the key I referred to earlier. The data cables I mentioned. There's a little bit of knockouts on the back just in case. And I need knockouts on the side over here, which I do have. So I need to get my grid power input and my load power out in there. And then of course earth ground. So yeah, this is nice. Let me get that key out, open the door, separate these two, and then you can see how this will go together. All right, I didn't mention earlier, but there is obviously a complete manual. And one thing I want to point out is in the manual, you will have IKEA style guides. Get screw A, put it in so-and-so, and get bolt F, and C, and B. I like this a lot because not everyone knows this is an M5. Is that what this is? See, I don't even know. M5? Maybe M4. Whatever. The feet go in the base. If you're going to level it on the floor, I'm going to use the feet, of course. I like to have that extra height. The feet will screw in those holes and help you level the bottom tray to the ground. In case your floor is not perfectly level or flat, you can fix that. So this is the bottom. Here's your course guide pins for putting a battery on top. And here's your pogo stack. This I'm sure this is a pogo stack for power and ground, but this one is empty in the power side here because this is the base. But this says, I'm the bottom. I'm sure those pins are, I'm the bottom. It's a strange airplane flying over. Might be that guy with that helio thingy that he's got. This is the top box, the eWay. And so I got the key, unlocked the door. See, it's hidden. This is not really a fingerprint reader, but if you touch here, it's a wake up to get the screen to wake up. Then inside, which is what I like, look at this. You have bus bars sufficient to hook all the batteries up from the battery stack into the inverter. And you have comms, and you have a Guardian. So that puts your whole system on the internet where you can read the batteries and the inverter status. And then of course the on and off switch backside there shows you this has a rapid shutdown switch built in. So I'm going to, oh, the Wi-Fi antenna goes out the back. I can see the coaxial cable there. That's located there in that bag. All right, great. So, all right, this is real nice. And I see, I didn't see it before, but there's a prop bracket. Prop bracket. So I can actually prop this lid open and not have to hold on to it. And then of course the electronics for the display are there, and some other connections. All right, this is very nice. This is gonna make DIY easy. So D-I-Y-E. I don't know how you pronounce that in English, but that's how it's gonna be. All right, let me get the base over to where it's going and open a box of battery, and then use the tractor, or this might be fine with just a dolly. I moved the 300-pound batteries with the dolly. I won't lift the battery, obviously. The lifting part of this is I have to lift 5 inches or so by hand. 5 inches is a lot when it's 200 pounds. Unless you're competing, which I don't do. And there we are. I digress. Let me get this in place, make some measurements. Let me get a plan for the battery to get carefully moved from here into the foyer, and then I'll report back. Stand by. All right, put that last foot in. One of them was a little tighter than the other one thread-wise. No big deal. So now let's take this base over. We're doing this live, people. Okay, this is the bottom of the foyer of my shipping container office. There's the base. Now, I have to miss the outlet because it's already installed. Now, if I have to, I can move it, but I don't want to. I don't remember where the stud was. It's there or there. If the stud is here, it's hard to move. If it's here, it's easy to move. Plus the paint and all that stuff. No. So then, I'm gonna be right there. So this whole system is gonna sit there. Yes, I do see that outlet. Might be an issue, might not. I'll get the tape measure and I'll confirm. The outlet just powers those lights. That can be moved for sure. A lot easier than the, that outlet is harder to move. That outlet is easy to move. See, it's surface mounted. All right, there's the first step. The base is there. Let me go get a level. Okay, kids, we've got this base set up. It's gonna be nice. I really like the way this goes together. This is different. Some batteries, some of those large batteries just have the base kind of built in the feet. You got all that weight on the feet. You can't really adjust them that well with the weight. So the question now is, how level should we level this leveling device? We've got 3 different levels here. We got the 30-year-old Craftsman. That looks almost level. I need to turn it some. We've got your Husky. It says 0.5 degrees high on the right. Let's get a real level involved. Oh yeah. Yeah, this thing, I think this thing counts the rotation of the earth in its level. Not sure, but that's legit, okay? So obviously I need to go up on the left slightly, and I can do that easily because I can actually just pick up the base, rotate the leveling feet, get the number I'm looking for, and call it. Now, favorite part of manual, take 1. All right, my favorite part of the manual. Oh, there's a hole in the roof there. Bloop, bloop. Okay, well, whatever's. Favorite part of the manual is this page, which I was alluding to earlier. Look, you're going to have a bag with has a 9 in it, and that 9 will be called out somewhere in this manual. This makes it a lot nicer for DIY and for installers because you don't have to go looking around for something. So, this is what I like about this. Pretty straightforward. Let's go on to the next step. There's several different layouts that you can make for this product, and we're going to do option 1. 2 batteries in a stack, 20 kilowatt hours. Well, technically 19.2. So this system is replacing or moving around 4 eFlex 5.4 batteries. I'm going to move those 4 to the main group of them. And then 2 stack of eForce, 1 NV inverter. That's my plan. So there's different layouts here you could pick, like mount everything to the wall, mount it to the floor. Actually, I guess technically it's option 3 since I don't have the that cover. Didn't think about that cover. I don't know if I need it, but I might. Oh yeah, that's for more outdoor. This is for less outdoor. This is what I have. My container has doors that I can close. You know, I might get that. Anyway, I digress. Let's get over to the section where this is what I wanted to show you next. Maybe use this. Oh, this is hard with the wind blowing in one hand. What happens here? this is what I'm doing now. I got the feet installed. I'm gonna mount these brackets. These brackets set, here's the bracket right here. This is nice. There's another battery where you have to have non-combustible material, or you have to make a 2-inch gap. Well, Fortress made the 2-inch gap for you. This is probably more than 2 inches, but it's about 2 inches. So then this automatically sets the gap between the batteries and the wall. That way you don't have to mess with that part of it. So I'm going to install these on that base. There's 2 of them. And I also know that there's 2 of these for each battery. So basically the battery will sit on the base first, and then on the next battery. And then you secure them to the wall. That gives you your anti-seismic activity bracketing. In combination with this item, you get anti-seismic activity, whatever you want to call it, remediation. Or it's not even remediation, it's preventing in the first place. So, anyway, my engineer brain's thinking about all this. So then I'm going to put the base in first. Then I'm going to get this template going. This is I guess this may be my favorite part of it, even though I did say that the naming the bags was my favorite. Look, just soak that in for a minute. You have a template that actually matches the situation. 2 batteries, and then move the template up for the inverter. I'm looking forward to this. All right, here we are. We're on this page. We've got the base on the ground leveled. Then it says use screw C or D. Here's screw C. There's C. And D is the concrete anchors. We have a plywood wall, so we don't need concrete anchors. Put those with the rest of the pile of those. Now, alternatively, I could use a shorter screw if I needed to. Here's a 5, this is roughly 5/16, and because it's metric, I'm sure. Then here's a 5/16 1.5 inch, which I could use. And then I've also used the GRK structural screws, 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch. The shoulder on that screw is 1/4 inch. And this is probably adequate. The problem is this, the threads don't go all the way to the head. And so by the time I insert this, it's going to be thread free in the plywood section. Therefore, I will just use the original screw that came with the battery. This extra penetration won't matter because this wall is insulated, but there's nothing there wire-wise. And I will double check that. I always run my Romex horizontal at 24 inches. I will measure to make sure that the next battery does not occupy the 24-inch zone, so that when I put the next battery's brackets, I don't go deeper than I should in the 2x4 to get to the wire zone. So that's just a little measurement. And if I think I'm going to, then I'll use a shorter screw. I have 5/16, even shorter than 1.5 inch. We're just preventing the battery from tilting over under some conditions which we can't foresee. All right. And also, I'm going to pre-drill into the plywood so those screws don't rip and tear the plywood so much. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. Of course, I'm committing to this position. I'll get the square first to make sure. Yeah, remember that? I said that already. All right, stand by. Now, in one of the videos from Fortress Power directly, I noticed that they have a symbol here, which means do not step on this. And according to them, this symbol also lines up with the bottom of the battery. Let me double check I got my facts right. The bottom, the bottom. Yes, here's the spike. Here's the course alignment pin on the top. So if that's true, let me put this, let me just store that there. If that's true on every battery, oh yeah, let me just store that there. If that's true on every battery, then I can actually rotate this box by myself. I'm going to attempt to move this battery with just a dolly and myself. I mean, I've moved to heavier batteries, so I don't think that's a real problem. I just want to understand the experience of it. so that I can relay it to you. Same for that one. Now, I do have a tractor that could lift this battery, but how would I move it onto the stack? That's another question I do have the answer to, and you'll see that next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of close this back up so that I can rotate it onto its bottom, which is going to be this surface, so that the battery presents itself to the front so it can leave the box nicely onto a dolly. Because, you know, this is really geared towards DIY. Remember I told you about this is going to be a power appliance, an energy appliance. It will be, because these stack, there's no cables. That stacks. That's your power. Now, got to get some cables from here to there probably, but we'll see how that goes. All right, stand by. Let's try this rotating the battery onto its receiving position. All right, honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I have that bottom battery as my height, and then this battery comes out. The battery has handles on the side, so a person can lift that end. If a person can lift 100 pounds with one arm, which I can, and so that's not a problem. Of course, this flap is a problem, and that flap, and these flaps. But I'm going to go get a strap, a cargo strap. I'm going to make a little strap to go over this where I can lift it. Oh, geez, this little flap. I don't know what to tell you about that thing. I'm going to make a cargo strap so I can lift this and then move it into place. I'd like to use the block and tackle because that's the simplest DIY system, the block and tackle. It does not require a tractor. Now, I've got a tractor, so why wouldn't I use it? I hear you, but I'm also trying to understand from a remote location with a person, can they do this or not? So, block and tackle is my first attempt. So I'll get the block and tackle arranged. I'll get a dolly and some protector here so we don't scratch the front. And we'll move it into place and get ready with the block and tackle. I need to make the ramp bigger. A bigger ramp with more surface area. Yeah. Okay, one. All right. I went and got a little cheater chain. Now, in theory. Okay. That feels good. I should have gotten some gloves. Well, there it is. Tractor time. And now, for what I said was going to be my favorite part. Zoop. The wall template. I have lowered the template to this battery and that one. And I knocked out the little pre-knocked out holes. See, there's the 8K pre-knockout hole. Right? So I've got the 12K. Keep this template down exactly. Use a Sharpie and just circle my hole. And then get that one. Okay, yeah. It's barely gonna I can barely reach up there without a ladder, but I can. So, yeah. All right, get that one. Get that one. Come on, you can do it. Okay, yeah. Now, that one and that one. Now, I don't know if the inverter is wider than this template. I will check in a minute. But like I said, I can remove that outlet. I believe the hole is off center in the back of that box, and I can spin it around to the right to avoid the inverter. That is for my outside lights. As you can see, those cute little lights hanging up. I don't know if they're cute, but they're there. And then, oh yeah, for wall mounted battery. We're not wall mounting, we floor mounted the battery, and you don't really need the template for that, but the template comes in handy for the inverter section because, see, you put the template on the battery top and then you have it. Okay, pull the template away, and now you can see I have marks sufficient to hang the brackets. Let's get those fished out. Oh yeah. All right, the G3 version of the NV12K, NV True 12. Let's open up this box. I'm curious about the height of the inverter to the location where I'm putting it. Hello, Mr. Box. Please read me first. Fortress trip hour is plugged into the inverter. Closed loop commission depends when you're doing closed loop with the standard. All right, I think we're doing it with CAN bus, but I'll double check before I know. It's probably just a pin change between the regular pins. Here is the traditional template, right? Traditional template. I will double check this template with the eForce battery template. Put that aside. Here is the gutter template. Well, against the wall template. Man, I love having these templates. It's a whole lot easier than trying to hold something in place and mark it and then take it down again. Okay. Wi-Fi dongle. Oh yeah, glad to pull that two more. Side mounting brackets and top mounting brackets. And this is the up position, as noted by the bracket. So then I'll lay this over here. Probably have to go get some lag bolts. Well, I say that. I think there should be some different kinds of bolts in here.
You can't use one hand to get the phone out of the box. One hand.
Okay. Nice. That's so nice. Nice having new equipment. And of course, the inverter manual. All right, let me get the other bag here. Should be there somewhere. And get the bracket mounted. And get the bottom plate removed. And get the inverter on the wall. Stand by for that. All right, here we go. Let's review the next step. I did use the block and tackle to mount the batteries. That was pretty straightforward. I ran out of room. I have room for the inverter, but I ran out of room to use the block and tackle for the inverter like I have done in the past because I don't have enough height. The shipping container ceiling inside occupies about 6 inches. So that leaves me with less than the full 96 on the inside, which is fine. Also, my lights are just hanging here for a second. I did move the outlet slightly, should be fine there. So now the plan, which, you know, it's fine. Take the tractor, lift the inverter up, get it where I want, disconnect the safety strap, just lift the inverter enough to hook it on the bracket. All right. All right, that's about as precise as landing a fighter jet on, well, I don't know, something. Can't think of a good analogy, but here we are, here we are. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Don't advise using the tractor by yourself, but here we are. Look at this. I had painted this color welded iron, and the black color is obsidian stone from Behr Paint Company. And so luckily Fortress Power knew this was the right color to pick, and so they also chose this color. And this lighter gray is also in that palette from Behr, and a white color like the white there. So it's all stacked up. This is the energy appliance of the future. And shipping containers are a great way to store the energy appliance. Now I do have to make a new trim at the top. The 2x6 that was there won't work. Plus I can insulate that pocket. And I think I'll do a ventilated device with vents so that the air can exchange in the attic of the container. But the next step is to boot it all up. I've got to make 4 short cables that go from here up into the inverter. Those are not included in the kit. At least on this kit they weren't. And I'll get those cables made. It'd be pretty simple to crimp on a 2-watt lug and then go into the inverter at the battery terminals. I'd already took this dead front off. So I just need the cables that go from the battery terminals down to the battery terminals. And then AC input and output, etc., and get it booted up and commissioned. All right, I'm gonna make custom battery cables between the eForce and the NV12K. So, bill of materials, sockets, torque wrench. I have some leftover cables already. I'll get you this measurement here in a second. And wire cutters, ferrules for the ends, and of course, a la manuelle. So let's go put a cable inside the inverter between the eWay and the inverter and mark the length, cut them, install the ferrules, install the cables, tighten everything up. All right, let's do it. Stand by. All right, this is pretty straightforward. I removed the 2 plates between the eWay and the inverter. And so it's just like drop the cable in there and temporarily install it on the bolt. Maybe I'll choose the bottom pair to make them the same length. Stand by. Like that. Have to get it to go there. I will. And then align it with the entrance. And then mark the cable where I should cut it with just a little bit of extra. Just a ½ an inch or more. And then strip it back. All right, let's do that. All right, I've got the battery cables made. You can see that they are tightened. I made sure that these are also tight over here, these screws, just to make sure. Also, another tip, I loosened all of these up first so that this plate could move up and down to allow the screws to go in nicely. Same for the back one. Loosen them all up. The plate will wiggle, and then you can get the bolts to start. The holes are just the right size, and there's a little compliance there. So, and then ferrules are installed on the upper cables and lugs on the bottom cables. All right, the bottom of the cables. Here's what I come up with for size. Set that there. There we go. You can see, I'll make this a little bit better, but here we go. Battery cable, the red one is 21 inches. And the black one is 15.5 inches. That's from the end of the cable to the center of the eyelet. So plan accordingly. The cable has enough room to, you know, be adjustable and also, bloop, out of the way. I can get to the PE bus bar in the back just fine. All right, there's that. Next step. All right, now continuing on with all of the connections that I have to remake. One is the solar connection. It's already in some metallic flex, liquid tight. I'm gonna put this 90 through the back. Bloop. Yeah, right here. So there's a nice opening, or maybe that one of those two. And then for the grid in and out, the old pipe was here. It's rigid conduit. I'm gonna go in through this one on the side, side. So I'm gonna mark and go across out a new hole here in the container. And then you'll see this is actually fed by an LB. This tube goes up over to the back. So I'm going to move this LB up so it's in alignment with the opening on the inverter, shorten the tube, move the wires over, etc. All right, you'll see. Let me speed this video up, but that's what we're gonna do. So stand by. Boop. Okay, moving on to the next step. I got ferrules on everybody. I got them fed through the pipe from the LB outside. Now we're gonna terminate. I don't mean kill them. I'm gonna mean land them in their proper location. Yeah, that's it. The blue ones are the output, and that's how I know. Everybody else has a home based on their wire size and colors. So yeah, let's do that real quick. All right, I'm sure tomorrow I'll work on that roof thing vibrating. I'm gonna change it up some. We call it the porch of my container. Always flaps in the wind. All right, we got this cable. We got the emergency power off cable, and then we have battery to inverter communication, inverter to Guardian, Internet Guardian, battery cables, generator, load, and grid. So let me go out and undo the bypass, and then we'll start our commissioning process. This is nice. I love it. I love it a lot. All right, stand by. All right, the next thing to talk about is the solar panel wiring. This is 20 panels. There are 6 strings of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, leaving these 2 orphans. I'm going to rewire the array into 2 strings of 10. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 10. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 10. That's the plan. Well, that's actually what's going to happen. All right. Drop all the leads down and rewire everything. 2 strings of 10 panels in series. When you put the ladders out, you can do it a lot faster. So let's go. This combiner box has actually got 2 groups of panels. 3 panels in series times 3. So the left charge controller and the right charge controller. So turn off all the panels. The left, wait, that's the right side, isn't it? The right side of panels, 368, y'all can read that. And the left side of panels, you turn in there, 372, close enough. Now, when I energize this by putting the fuse holders in place, I will provide the 370 volts down to the inverter. So the first thing we have to do is go over here. That's not the first thing, but one of the things is I think there's test points here, the little hole right there. So before, move my head, before I turn on the switch of the solar panels going up to the unit, then I will also make sure that my test points match the voltages, polarity mostly, because see, it says right there, 1 plus, 1 minus, 1 plus, 1 minus. So 1 plus, 1 minus, yellow, 1 plus, blue. Blue is neutral in some countries, so I used it for a minus. All right, make sure. Now, in theory, I was thinking about this to myself. Maybe I should use MPPT 2 and 3 for this array initially to make sure all of those panels are working the same, and then move them over here. Then add, then add another array or two, you know, like to fill this thing up a bit more. I have lots of panels, they're all wired somewhere. That's my thoughts. Oh yeah, let me find the diagonal cutters and cut these tire app tags off. Oh yeah, and that also tells me this. I have a summary for you. I do have the grid connection wired and the output wired, the generator wired. These are existing wires. This is number 6. It's attached to a 50 amp breaker, 50 amp, 30 amp. So that is the system that this thing is running on, because it's not running an entire house, it's running a structure or two, and that's 50 amps is its design value. I'll say that, design value. The generator is a Kubota 7000, which is 6,800 running watts, and that's why it's only a number 10. Kubota manual start diesel generator. But it works great actually. If you need a generator, get one. Or one of those military surplus diesel generators. Man, those things are legit. I digress in my conversation with you, but let's go on to the next step. All right, I laid down some mulch. We had some rain, and we're going to get more rain. And so, just a little of the cedar mulch. That'll help with the mud. Now, I wanted to review something with you guys about these batteries. First of all, I still believe this is an energy appliance. I never changed my opinion there, but I do want to review a few things with you. One, I use the block and tackle as if I'm off-grid, alone in the woods. You've seen those videos. And the block and tackle meant that I could lift the battery up and put it into position. In reality, you need 2 people with the block and tackle on this system because you're lifting them high enough to have the need for assistance to get to the course guide pins properly. Then if you have 2 people, the first battery could have been easily lifted by 2 people onto the platform, the base, and the second battery can be guided by the person, the second person, and the first person pulling the rope. And then of course the eWay doesn't weigh much. The inverter doesn't weigh enough. It weighs more than 1 person slightly for the height that we're at here, and it's easily managed by 2 people for this height. So in retrospect, 2 people is the ideal way to install this. Yes, 1 person can do it. 2 is better. If you're trying to lift the second battery alone with people, 2 strong people are fine, or maybe a 3rd person. Now, you know, there's complications here with this. 200 pounds, it is movable, it is nice. The end result is phenomenal. The stack makes a very good view, as you can see in my foyer of my office. I had already chosen this paint color. This is what this color comes as. The advantage of this, it's an appliance. Now there's a couple of disadvantages. I'll just go over those briefly. One is the display is too high. It really is. Here's my eye level. I'm 5'7". That's the eye level. And there's the display. Now, I have a little Costco stool, so that'll be fine for me. Plus, of course, this is on the internet, and so I can use the laptop or the phone or the, whatever, a device to get to there. It would be ideal if I could get a second display to run in parallel with this display, and run that cable wherever I want, because it'll be, might be a ribbon cable, but you can easily make that into a 8-pin RJ45 cable that goes somewhere, because I'd like to put it on the inside of my office, so then I would have it there. Now, that's a minor. Overall, the way the eWay is designed, the internals, it makes it super DIY friendly. And I look forward to installing the next one that's coming up, and I'm gonna use a different method, and I think it'll be a lot easier now that I'll have that under my belt. I've installed a couple of these inverters already. This is my first eForce battery, and I'm very pleased. For DIY and for professional alike, this is so easy to put in. All right, so thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and like and subscribe.